What if I told you you could be making an extra $50,000 per year while still in college? Well, I'm not gonna do that because I have no idea how to make $50,000 in a month. What's up, everybody? My name is Michael, and today we're gonna talk about making money in college. So college is way too expensive. I go to Carnegie Mellon, and their very own website says that you have to pay $80,000 per year just to attend. Now, for the multimillionaire families, that's not a big deal. What's a little $320,000 investment in your kid's future really gonna do to your bank account? Well, unfortunately, the vast majority of us are not multimillionaires, but we all still want a good education, right? Well, enter college side hustles. Today, I'll be going over 7 of the best ways, in my opinion, to make a little bit of side money while you're still in college. And to get a sense of the difficulty for each of these side hustles, I've rated each of these out of 5 stars for how hard they are to get started and how difficult it is to make $250 per month. So just a quick disclaimer, each of these methods is a way that I've made money either in the past, present, or I could very easily do so if I wanted to in the future. So with that being said, what I'm not going to be recommending are things like stocks, crypto, freelancing, dropshipping, Amazon FBA, and that's just because all of these methods I think either require a large amount of expertise, a large amount of luck, or a ton of money. Okay, enough introduction, let's get started. So I'll begin with the idea that I wish I took more seriously in college, and that's tutoring. I have a couple friends who tutored on the side throughout college. They worked for some small local company pulling anywhere from $15 to $20 per hour per client, and I'm not talking about this job because that's where you're working for people. And if you're working under someone at a tutoring company, they're going to be taking a large cut of the revenue that you actually produce. So say you're making them $60 an hour, what you're getting paid is probably more like $20 an hour, which is not a great deal. So instead, what I'm talking about is finding your own clients from scratch, say posting on Facebook groups or getting in touch with people who are from the area who may know people with kids who need some tutoring. Many parents want their kids to do well in school, and these parents are also the ones that have all the money, and they're probably willing to spend a decent chunk of change just to get their kids to do a little better in school. I've seen friends even in high school get up to $100 per hour tutoring basic one-on-one. And tutoring isn't even just limited to one-on-ones either. There were a couple people at my high school a few years older than me that started their own SAT tutoring company, and they're bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue just from teaching kids how to do better on the SATs. Seriously, there is a lot of money to be made in tutoring high schoolers to get better grades or get better SATs. In terms of difficulty to get started, I'd put this one at a 4 out of 5. And this is just because getting clients on your own is pretty difficult, especially if you don't know anyone already in the area. If you already do, or you're from the area, then that difficulty does go down a little bit. And the difficulty in terms of making $250 a month, I'd put at 3 stars. Let's say you charge $25 an hour and you have 3 clients a week, 1 hour each. That's 3 hours a week, or about 12 to 14 hours a month, which is well over that $250 a month target. The second idea that makes up the bulk of my income in college is internships. So internships are jobs that college students do typically in the summer of their junior year. They're usually about 10 to 12 weeks long, and they're for the company to get a sense of how you'll perform as a full-time employee. And likewise, it's a way for you to dip your toes in the company's water. Okay, that's a weird analogy. It's more like a trial period for you to see if you like the company and you like the culture. If all goes well, the company offers you a return offer after you graduate and you go and join full-time. Some notes about internships are that even though they're traditionally for juniors, it's not that hard to get an internship in your freshman or your sophomore year, although the difficulty does increase the younger you are because, again, the goal is primarily for these companies to get full-time employees. Another thing is when you're younger, these internships pay a little bit less. I had 3 friends that I can think of that did internships in their freshman years, and their hourly pays were $10, $18.50, and $21 per hour. And that might be pretty low compared to some other internships, but when you add it up, 40 hours a week for 12 weeks, they're easily pulling in thousands of dollars a month. One other thing about internships is that your industry matters a lot. For those of you that don't know, I work in software as an intern. Personally, including my housing stipend, I make over $10,000 a month. I know business internships can get close to this number, but internships that aren't in business or software engineering don't really see those high numbers. In terms of getting started, I'll rate getting internships as a 4 out of 5 as well. Internships are getting increasingly more and more competitive as people realize how good of an opportunity it is to get your foot in the door with these good companies, as well as the amount that it pays college students. It's really incredible. Preparing for internship interviews require tons and tons of work, but the reward can really be worth it, especially if you end up at your dream company. For making $250 a month, I'll put it at 0.5 stars out of 5. I would have put it at a 0, but for some reason there are still unpaid internships out there. So although if you get paid at your internship, you're easily clearing way more than $250 a month, there is still the occasional unpaid internship. So the third method, and another one that I partook in, is the work-study program, or on-campus jobs. At Carnegie Mellon, this usually just means being a desk attendant for an info desk or technical desk or at the gyms. For my job, a 4-hour shift, I pretty much just did like 10 minutes of work, and a lot of my friends who had these jobs really didn't do that much either. They took their time on their shifts to get homework done or get some studying done, because a lot of the time in these jobs, you're kind of just sitting around doing nothing. The downside to these jobs is that they don't pay great. I think I was paid somewhere around $10 per hour, so you won't see anything close to the amount that you can get paid for internships. But in terms of getting started, I put the difficulty at 1 out of 5. It's really not that difficult to get one of these jobs. I don't think the supply is particularly high, at least at Carnegie Mellon. All you have to do is just find the open positions and apply. And it's a really easy interview that, as long as you don't give any really wrong answers, you can pass. The difficulty for making $250 a month, I'd say, is a 3 out of 5. The reason why it's a 3 out of 5 is because even though you're not really doing much at your job, the pay is low, so you have to take on a lot of shifts in order to hit $250 a month. Say you're making $10 an hour, getting taxed 20%, so you'll have to work a little over 30 hours per month to hit that $250 mark. And while that seems like a big time commitment, remember a lot of that time can be spent on doing other stuff like your homework or studying. So the fourth method I recommend is just to get a normal part-time job. I did this one in high school, so it kind of counts. This category is basically just any job at your local convenience store, bubble tea store, or sandwich shop. These jobs are nothing close to glorious. They don't pay a lot, but if you really need the money, they're not hard to find. So similar to on-campus jobs, the difficulty of getting these jobs is about 1 out of 5. Just apply and there will likely be an easy interview you can pass. But the difficulty in making $250 a month is a little bit higher at 4 out of 5. Again, because these jobs pay so little, you'll have to rack up a lot of hours every month to hit $250. And this one is a little different from the on-campus jobs because you gotta be on your feet more. You have to be more focused when you've got a part-time job. So because you can't be doing your other classwork or studying, it's a little bit more of a time commitment, even if the hours you're logging are the same. The fifth method that I want to talk about is research. Now, I didn't participate in any research at Carnegie Mellon. I very nearly did, but the professor I was going to work with sent me a bunch of biology research papers a couple days before I was supposed to start. I took one look at them and emailed him that this position probably wasn't for me. The pay for these positions is a little bit higher, say anywhere from $12 to $20 an hour. And a strong benefit of research is that it can really be a resume booster. If you have relevant experience in the field that you're planning on working in after college, having research on your resume can set you apart from the other applicants. For getting a research position, I'll put it at 2 out of 5. This might be a little biased because Carnegie Mellon is a research heavy school, so at other schools it may be a little bit harder to get. And in my experience, research opportunities are plentiful and often you can just email professors and they'll offer you a position. For making $250 a month, I'll put at 3.5 out of 5. While it's similar to a part-time job in that you have to be on your feet really the whole time or really engaged in what you're doing, it's a little bit easier because you're getting paid a little more, so you'd have to work less to hit $250. So the sixth method that I want to talk about is becoming a TA, or a teaching assistant. So in college, if you don't know what a TA is, they're basically just helpers for the professors to either grade homework, answer students' questions about homeworks or tests, teach additional sessions of class called recitations. And this method is really similar to research in that if you have relevant experience towards the field that you're trying to recruit for, then becoming a TA can look good for your resume. Likewise, it can also help you build better relationships with your professors.
That sounds kind of sus.
Getting a TA position, I'd put it about 2 out of 5. Because it's a resume booster, there's a little more competition, so if you apply, you're not guaranteed a spot. The difficulty in making $250 a month is around 3.5 out of 5. These jobs generally pay around the same amount as research, around $12 to $20 an hour. So again, factoring in taxes, you'd have to work anywhere from 15 to 25 hours a week, and it's concentrated, no BS kind of work. So the seventh method, and the most interesting one in my opinion, is becoming a resident advisor, or an RA. This one is a little less practical if you need to make money immediately, because you can't just set your sights on becoming an RA and then instantly become one. If you're not familiar with what an RA RAs, basically they are an upperclassmen that live in the dorms with students and kind of serve as an authority figure on the floor that they reside on. They host events for residents, provide dorm-specific news, and are really the point of contact for the residents and the school. Pay for RAs is pretty high, at least at Carnegie Mellon. Here, the RAs get completely free housing, although they do have to live on the floor that they're assigned on. Typically, campus housing is about $10,000 for 2 semesters, so average that out over 9 months, and it's over $1,000 a month. So getting an RA position, I'd put it a 3 out of 5. You have to apply, interview, as well as get accepted, and I think the interview process for becoming an RA might be a little bit difficult, especially because you have to show that you're capable of having authority over other people. Also, a lot of other students know how much the RAs get paid, so there might be a little bit more competition just based on that. But in terms of reaching $250 a month, this is the only 0 out of 5 on the list. That's just because housing generally costs way more than $250 a month. So if you're an RA, you're gonna be making more than that. That's it. Those are my practical and reasonable recommendations for how you can make a little extra side money in college. Now, a lot of the ones that I've talked about today are kind of similar and they don't pay a lot. And I realize that. And it makes sense because when you're in college, you don't really have all the skills yet to be making as much money as you can. And likewise, you really have to trade in your time for money. Just to recap, the 7 ways are tutoring, internships, on-campus jobs, part-time jobs, research positions, becoming a teaching assistant, or becoming a resident assistant. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful, and thank you so much for watching. See you next time.